Hello and welcome to the first episode of webDip Highlighted. I am Obgamokt, Editor-in-Chief of Web Diplomacy, and with me today we have Valis2501. He is the most recent Chancellor of the School of War, as well as the current manager of the 150cc live game club. So Valis, why don't you take it away?
Sure. So I thought this game is an excellent example of how a game can be won purely through strategic rather than tactical mistakes of multiple opponents. So in the beginning, everyone does well except Austria, who panics a bit in the face of the Bohemian Crusher, and he leaves Serbia open. Combined with a poor defense of his home centers, this quickly leaves him open for Italy and Turkey to swoop in, and then a quick EF alliance is formed, which is broken almost immediately as France stabs England after attacking Germany. Austria continues to crumble, and Russia kicks England out of Scandinavia as Turkey starts to go full west. The mid-game really begins in the spring of 1906. As Austria's lone center finally falls, Russia owns two-thirds of Turkey's home centers, and Italy owns Iberia. At the loss of Ukraine and his home center defense, Russia gains Turkey's final home center, but it's too late and Italy has broken through. In addition, in the west, Italy continues to send fleets through the Med as far as up as the Irish Sea and the English Channel. With a retreating Russia, no home centers, and all armies, Turkey and the Balkans fall to the Green Monster pretty quickly. And while Italy loses Ukraine, he gains all of Anatolia. France is finally finished off by the newly formed English-German alliance, but Italy's fleets in and past the mid-Atlantic Ocean, they present a formidable solo threat that's hard to contain. The game really starts to hit the end in 1909 as Italy gains the Turkish home centers from Russia, as well as Munich and Belgium, which are obviously far past the stalemate line of where they would wish to contain Italy. Although he'll swap around these centers for others in the coming years, a combination of the southern half of the board and too many units behind enemy lines allows Italy an absolute victory in the fall of 1911.
Okay, and what about for best play?
For best play, obviously it's going to be from Italy this game, and I would have to say it happened in the fall of 1904, where he moved his fleet in Naples to the Tyrrhenian Sea and his fleet in Tunis to the Western Mediterranean. I think it shows a boldness and a confidence to know that Turkey is a handleable threat, something that he doesn't have to fear, even with Turkey having a fleet in the Adriatic Sea, and that the low-hanging fruit of Iberia should be sought as soon as possible without fear. Again, it's more the strategic choice, but I think that really shows what kind of player Italy was and that he deserved his win through and through.
Yep, definitely a lot of forethought there. Now, I wasn't going to toot my own horn, but since we happen to be on the same year, I will say that I was pretty proud of myself when in Finland I was able to sneak into Sweden with Russia expecting me to either bounce him in St. Pete or Norway. I wasn't going to bring it up, but since the map's right in front of us.
I wasn't going to bring it up either, but I almost listed England's worst move as not disbanding Finland to show signs of peace.
Yeah, well, so I will agree, I definitely attacked Russia for much too long, but I think at this point in the game, there wasn't enough sign of a solo threat.
Fair enough.
I do agree I should have stopped attacking him long before I did. Welcome back, and next up we have C. Steinhardt. He's one of the top 10 rated players on the site based on Ghost rating. So thank you for coming in, and what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I think one of the things I want to highlight comes from the opening, where a little bit uncommonly for a gunboat game, it seems a lot of powers decided that they were really going to lock themselves into one particular strategy in the opening very hard. So, for example, France in 1901 entirely commits to taking Belgium, gets it and builds two armies. What this means is that there's essentially no hope of France fighting a war with England. Either England's going to support him against Germany and it's a winning war and he's made a great ally, or it fails and England decides to come calling and the one fleet can't defend anything against two British fleets. So, similarly, England committed hard to Scandinavia. Germany also built two armies. So Germany committed hard to a war with France. Italy committed hard to a war with Austria, right? Italy, who ends up winning the game, is a 3-army, 1-fleet Italy. If he simply fails to get a build out of Austria and Turkey sends his 2 fleets toward the Ionian, Italy's going to entirely collapse. So these are high risk, potentially high reward strategies. My experience in Gunboat has been that often it's desirable to be able to react to what's happening on the board. So I often tend to prefer more of a mixed strategy. But in this case, what we see is for the Italian, it worked out beautifully. He ended up winning the game. For most of the others, they actually kind of got locked into a position where they were forced into a war. They couldn't abandon that war, and they didn't really have the possibility to turn around. The Czech got it completely right. And that's not an easy thing to do. You know, when you do it right, it really looks effortless, and he should get really high marks for that. So I was really pleased to see there's a high standard of play in this first game. I look forward to seeing the next couple.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to give us your thoughts. And next up, we actually have an interview with the winner, the Czech himself. All right, the Czech, thank you for joining us, and congratulations on your win last night.
Thank you.
So we wanted to ask you a couple questions. You played Italy in this game. And so going in as Italy, what are your kind of main thoughts for a gunboat game?
Normally, I am allies with Austria and won't break that, except I had just finished a gunboat game right before this where I was Austria and Italy pummeled me doing the same moves. So I wanted to see if it could be done because the games were actually going on simultaneously almost.
Okay.
Austria had gotten eliminated pretty soon. So normally I never try to do this. If I try to sneak into Trieste, it's normally from Venice. But this time I went up to Tyrolia and Bohemia trying to get that third unit on there, and it worked out.
Yep. Yeah. So you certainly made quick work of Austria, and then you actually were able to get all the way up. I was England in this game, and
Right.
you almost made it into Liverpool. Is that uncommon? Was that kind of an unexpected surprise for you?
It was unexpected. France left Spain and Portugal totally unguarded, and when I sent 2 fleets over there, I expected him to defend it somehow. Instead, he sent an army from Marseille to Piedmont to Tyrolia. I'm thinking to try to put units on Munich, but I wound up being able to put a unit in Gulf of Leon and in Spain, and then get Portugal and Spain. So once I had those, and France wasn't coming anywhere near me, I just started sending them up north to have them in the back. That way I knew I was already across one stalemate line, so it would just cause disruption behind it.
Right. And then at what point did you realize that you pretty much had this game in the bag? Do you think that, or do you play as if there's always a chance for the draw to happen?
I'm always playing to make sure I'm in a draw. But, it looked like Russia there for a while was going to had a good show of it about midway through, about spring 1906. Russia was the big one on the board, and then I managed to hold off a little bit and get units in place, and then take some from him by getting into Ukraine, and then slowly pushing Turkey back. But then Turkey, in the end-game statements, Russia said he didn't even try to defend or go after Smyrna or any of those other ones that he left wide open. And so that actually worked out to my benefit. I don't know why Turkey didn't do that. I think it would have turned out much differently had he had defended as well.
And so do you think, so obviously you played a very strong game, but do you think there was any one thing that one of the other players did that really helped you get the solo?
I think France, lacking to move south and defend Iberia or Marseille, and then Turkey not going back and taking his home supply centers, at least being able to hold that off from me as I was heading east. So I think France, to me, France was the big thing that could have stopped my whole progress.
Okay, great. Well, congratulations again, and thank you for taking the time to chat with us. And hopefully we'll see you in the game that we put on next week. And you might be coming back again to talk to us a second time.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks.
I'm Obgamok, Editor-in-Chief of Web Diplomacy, and I want you to subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Twitter @WebDiplomacy, and if you want to submit a video or have a video request, email webdippr@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.